Chris Mitchell and this is Sport Today. Coming up for you, shifting sands. Europe says a 2022 World Cup in the summer would be impossible. Football's most wanted, police arrest 14 in Singapore suspected of match fixing. And the fairest of them all, Ken Norton, the man who beat Ali, dies aged 70. Hello. UEFA have confirmed that they think the 2020 World Cup in Qatar should be moved to the winter. The 54 member nations of the European football governing body have agreed at a meeting in Croatia on Thursday that the World Cup cannot be played in Qatar in the summer. FIFA, the world governing body, are believed to favour a November-December time for the World Cup so it doesn't clash with the Winter Olympics. The World Cup, of course, was awarded to Qatar at a vote 3 years ago on the basis it would be held in the summer, but since then concerns have been raised about the temperatures there during the summer months when the tournament would be due to be held. Well, John Bennett, our football reporter, is with me here. John, UEFA, FIFA all seem pretty resigned now that this World Cup in 2022 will be moved, but that is not going to please everybody.
No, the English Premier League have been the most vocal in their opposition to a Winter World Cup, Chris. I have to say, they haven't commented yet about this latest development. They've offered no comment, but in the past they've called it undesirable and also unworkable as well, for three reasons. They think it could affect player contracts, they think it could affect broadcast rights, and also they think it could have an effect not only on one season, but on 3 domestic seasons as well. But as you say, shifting sands, because other big players in world football are saying they're open to the possibility of a Winter World Cup. I've been speaking to Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, who is the chairman of the European Club Association. They look after all the big clubs in European football. He's urging FIFA to take their time, but he is saying he's open to the change.
We want to be involved just in the decision-making process. If there is a possible change maybe from summer to another season, I believe it will be affect our business, and so it's more than realistic that then we are involved at a serious and high level in the decision-making process. We are not against to move from summer to another season, as I said, but I believe we have to be heard very seriously, that at the end we will find a solution which is well received and accepted by all stakeholders in the football family.
You can understand people being mightily confused by all of this, John, but it's not just the English Premier League that have a vested interest in a summer World Cup, is it?
Yeah, think about TV broadcasters. We've heard from the American station Fox this week. They said that when they bid to broadcast the World Cup, they thought it was going to be in June, July, as normal. What about the other nations that bid for the 2022 World Cup, such as Australia? This week they suggested that maybe the nations that lost out should be compensated. So there's so many people involved in this process. The next big chapter, though, Chris, will be October the 4th. That's when FIFA are meeting to discuss this, and that's when we could get a conclusion. Will the World Cup be moved?
Looks like we all might be packing our jumpers to Qatar, perhaps, John. Thank you very much indeed. Incidentally, the English Premier League have said that they won't be commenting on this story as yet, but if they do, we'll bring it to you. Now, police in Singapore have arrested 14 people suspected of being involved in match fixing. Authorities said that the suspected leader of the group was among those detained, but refused to confirm whether this was Dan Tan, a Singapore resident wanted for alleged match fixing in Italy and Hungary. Chris Eaton has worked for FIFA and Interpol on tackling corruption in sport and says the only way the problem can be solved is with more collaboration.
We need to see an international platform, an intelligence platform that involves sport, police, the regulators, the gambling regulators of the world, and to some extent the legitimate bookmakers of the world, sharing information in a timely way so that match fixing is prevented. We don't end up with these sorts of 5-year-old investigations cleaning up after the mess has been made.
Why hasn't that happened already? You've been involved in this for many years. What's stopping that from happening?
Well, there's confusion between who is responsible. On the one hand, governments want sport to look after this. On the other hand, sport want governments to look after it. In the end, they're passing the parcel between themselves, and the bookmaking organisations are making an awful lot of money out of betting on sport, And everyone's happy with the current situation, which was really sport being enormously popular, but being undermined at the ground by crime, and particularly organised crime.
How much of a problem is match fixing right now, do you think, as we enter a crucial period of World Cup qualifying? The Champions League has just started. Are these competitions that could be tainted?
No, it seems to me that because of the pressure, the match fixers have taken themselves back to the second and third divisions around the world and regrouping, if you like. They will certainly attack, as they have in the past, qualifiers and international friendlies particularly. Look, they're about making money, and they're about protecting themselves. This needs the action of police who are familiar with these tactics of organised crime. And I say, at a global level, you cannot, even though these have been very good arrests, you cannot do this at a national or even a regional level. It can only be done at a global level.
Well, FIFA have just released a statement. They say we're aware of the matter and that they will continue to monitor the situation in Singapore. As the matter is ongoing, they say, please understand we are not in a position to provide any further comment. Now, Ken Norton has died at the age of 70. The former world heavyweight boxing champion was the second man to defeat Muhammad Ali at the start of a trilogy of fights in the 1970s. Adrian Hobart looks back on his career.
Like many heavyweights of his generation, Ken Norton is best remembered for how he fought Muhammad Ali. And in their first fight in 1973, he beat him, and he beat him well. Norton broke Ali's jaw, winning a split decision at the end of a 12-round bout, just the second defeat of Ali's professional career.
Everyone's defined by Ali, whether they like it or not. Joe Frazier was famously very bitter that he was defined by Muhammad Ali. I don't think Ken Norton was. Ken Norton will forever be immortalised as the man who broke Muhammad Ali's jaw.
In a trilogy of fights, Ali went on to avenge his defeat to Norton, beating him later in 1973, then again 3 years later in their final fight at the New York Yankee Stadium. But even after that, Norton went on to become the WBC world title holder before losing it to Larry Holmes in 1978.
There are two great hours for Kenny Norton. One is the first fight with Ali. Now remember, he fought Ali 3 times, and what's fascinating is that in all 3 fights, the fight was even on points going into the last round. But his other great moment was his loss, again, by split decision, to Larry Holmes for the heavyweight championship when he lost the title to Holmes, because that was one of the great rounds in boxing history, the 15th round of that fight.
50 professional fights took their toll on Norton's health, but he never blamed the sport. He suffered a series of strokes and had been in poor health for some time, passing away aged 70. He will always be remembered as one of boxing's greats, from one of boxing's greatest eras. Adrian Hobart, BBC News.
The America's Cup will stay in the United States for one more day at least. The second of Wednesday's races was postponed because of high winds, but not before Emirates Team New Zealand had won race 11 by 15 seconds over Oracle Team USA to lead 8-1 in the 17-race series. The US had been docked 2 points going into the tournament for cheating in the warm-up regatta. Race 12 has been postponed until Thursday, with New Zealand 1 victory away from regaining the cup they last held in 2003. Well, this just coming in. Usain Bolt wants to be part of the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, Scotland next year. Perhaps more importantly, he's reconsidering, he says, his plans to retire from athletics after the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio. More on that for you, I'm sure, a little later. And wrap up warm for a Winter World Cup in 2022, perhaps. bbc.com/sport. I'm Chris Mitchell, and that for you was Sport Today.